In Eat for Life, you mentioned toxic hunger versus true hunger. How do we distinguish between the two? And is toxic hunger connected to food addiction? And we'll talk about food addiction a little bit as well, you know, and your incredible, your retreat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm working on studies right now, and I'm working with, I'm actually discussing some of this work with Andrew Bremer, the president of the nutritional science, the NIH. We're talking about, yeah, we should do studies showing the effectiveness of all these processes to protect and reverse disease. But more important than that is, how do we motivate people to make the changes necessary to eat this way? How do we educate and motivate and train? And that's what we're working on now, is these methods of motivation. We're working on that right now. But the point, to answer your question, yes, unhealthy food is addicting. That's why people can't make it. That's why it's so hard to make people make changes, because it's addictive for multiple reasons. One has to do with what I call the caloric rush, of how many concentrated calories into the bloodstream at one time, which then have a stimulatory effect on the opiate centers in the brain, and make you more dopamine insensitive, which is the underlying mechanisms of food cravings, from getting habituated to this high caloric rush. And the second triad of the addictive of addictive eating and addictive causation is what the person is bringing up, is what I call toxic hunger. Because when your body has a lower level of nutrients in it and a higher level of toxins, then when you're not eating food, the liver and the kidney go into a detox mode. And the liver and the kidney are always trying to remove toxins from the body. But when you're relatively toxic, you feel ill when you're not eating, when the body starts circulating excessive amounts of toxins in the blood. And you feel wiped out, you feel fatigued, you feel headachy, you even get stomach pulsating, cramping, fluttering. People can feel agitated or angry or irritable. So I call these symptoms toxic hunger, because people they lose them. They don't have those symptoms between meals once their diet is healthy enough for enough period of time. When you eat healthfully for long enough period of time, you don't get stomach cramping, headaches, and fatigue between meals. Those go away. And now, if you don't eat calories for a long enough period of time, the body gives you a signal to eat to replenish the loss of glycogen, the lower levels of glucose in your blood, right? But, your glycogen gets utilized, so glycogen can no longer supply glucose levels in the blood. So then the body gives you a signal to eat, of which I call true hunger. And true hunger is felt here in the lower part of your neck and the upper part of your chest. And it's a pleasurable sensation. It's associated with enhanced taste sensation and sometimes with salivation. So it makes food taste good. And most times I'll even say to people, they'll say, "Hey, Joel, you want this great tasting soup I made for you?" And I'll say, "I'd love to have it, but I'd rather put it in the refrigerator now and eat it when I'm hungry. I'll enjoy it more later when I'm really hungry and feel like eating. Right now, I don't really feel like eating. I'm not hungry yet." The point I'm making is, I don't want to eat foods when I'm not hungry. It's too much more delicious and tasty to eat foods when you're really hungry. So the combination of hunger, which accelerates your taste at the same time, makes eating more enjoyable. So essentially, what we're talking about is teaching people how to get healthy enough so they get back in touch with instinctual eating, and they eat as much as they feel like eating. But what they feel like eating is the right amount of food, because the body's giving them the proper signals to eat. Because I'm saying, when you don't eat healthfully, the signals are discombobulated, and you get an unrelenting drive to overconsume calories when you're not eating healthfully enough. And part of that is toxic hunger. And remember, fatigue is not a symptom of hunger, and we shouldn't be eating to give us energy, right? Look, a person's 30 pounds overweight. They could have lived for a month on those calories on the body. You don't eat to get more calories you don't need more calories to get rid of fatigue. The fatigue is not from the need for calories. The fatigue is circulating metabolic waste in your tissues because your diet isn't healthy enough. So when people say that they're so-called hypoglycemic, they don't eat a meal, they finish digestion, their glucose curve goes to the bottom, and they feel wiped out and wasted and uncomfortable. Well, that's a sign of ill health. It's not the low blood sugar causing the problem. It's the metabolic processes that start to occur when your blood sugar is lowest, because when your liver stops taking in nutrients and storing the glucose as glycogen, right? When the liver stops putting food, taking it in and storing it, it can start breaking down toxins and deconjugating fat-soluble toxins for removal to make them water soluble, so the kidney can excrete them. The liver is an organ of detoxification, and the people are seeing these detox symptoms and feeling them and thinking that's hunger because they can stop the detox by eating again. So they can feel better by eating again, which is just really stopping the body's repair mechanisms. So we're not saying to suffer with uncomfortable symptoms. We're saying to change the diet so you don't have the uncomfortable symptoms. And this idea of feeling better with high protein intake from eating animal products, which makes you feel better, actually perpetuates the problem and keep you feeling worse when you don't eat calories, because now you have more endotoxins, metabolic waste, and of course, pro-inflammatory chemicals in your body causing more fatigue symptoms, making you feel more hypoglycemic. So it's like a person comes in with headaches and the person starts taking Tylenol and Advil, and eventually they now get headaches all the time because they suppressed that. The headache was the detox. The headache was the repair and the removal of the poisons from the meninges around the brain. And now you took in pills and chemicals that are poisonous to push the poisons back in. So now you have headaches all the time. And the more drugs you take, the more headaches you have all the time. And then you go to a doctor and he gives you Escit, Wygain, Vanquish, Excedrin, Furanol, Furacet, Midrin, drugs whose active ingredients are barbiturates, narcotics, and caffeine. And you have headaches for the rest of your life, that you always need drugs.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're saying here that this is how people, they use animal products to feel better, but now they can't tolerate not eating them all the time because they feel too sick and they try to get off them. So they become addicted to unhealthy food. Just like they're addicted to cigarettes, they're addicted to caffeine, they're addicted to medications, they're addicted to drugs, and they're addicted now to food, and they can't stop overeating.
Thank you. I mean, this is just an incredible, presentation at every level, whether people are coming in and they're new to this information, or whether they've been dabbling in plant-based eating and consider themselves more at a moderate level. And then even we have, healthcare practitioners in our audience tonight. And you're speaking right to their level as well. So I'm grateful. I know we agreed we would go a little bit over because we have such great questions. For our audience, if you have to leave us, we understand. But we can move into our formal Q&A, which will not differ very much from the way our discussion has been going so far. So is it all right if I give you a few questions from the audience, Dr. Fuhrman?
Sure, love that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. Someone said, I'm learning not to eat nuts as a standalone snack, so I don't over consume them. Do you have any snack recommendations for me?
Yes, don't snack.
Don't snack.
Yeah, here's the thing. First of all, remember, we're saying that nuts facilitate the absorption of the anti-cancer phytochemicals in the vegetables you're eating. So you want to conserve them, to utilize them at mealtime to get more nutrient absorption out of the vegetables. You don't want to waste those calories by eating them not with a meal, number one. Number two, the word snacking means recreational eating. That means eating between meals, and there's no way you could need more than 3 meals a day, because that means you're over consuming calories, because the more calories you consume in life, the shorter your life, and you're eating unnecessary calories. If you were hungry enough to need to snack, then you're probably a world-class athlete or a physical laborer. So yeah, if you're a world-class tennis player, a professional basketball player, on the Olympic team, or working behind a 400-pound plow with an ox 8 hours a day, yeah, then you could eat more calories than 3 meals a day. But if you have a desk job and you go into the gym for 45 minutes to an hour a day, you are not requiring more than 3 meals a day. I ski, for 6 hours a day, and I don't require more than 3 meals a day. So it's really, the point is that that's called overeating, and that's and so you shouldn't be overeating on anything. But nuts are 175 calories per ounce, and it's your job to know your caloric window that makes the best version of yourself. And longest lifespan occurs with women with body fats below 25% and males with body fats below 15%. So we want to lose the excess fat, and we want to achieve an ideal longevity favorable weight, right? That's in the most lean, strongest version of yourself, not anorexic or too thin, but you've got to be that best judgment of your own caloric needs. So you figure out what's your most favorite caloric window to be the best, healthiest version of yourself. So let's say your caloric window you figured out was 1,400 to 1,600 calories a day, let's say, right? So you've got to stay within that caloric window. That's about 500 calories per meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not add an extra couple of hundred between meals and push you up to a level that creates more body fat. So most people that snack are people that are overweight, and they're snacking because they need to quell toxic hunger. When you improve your nutrient intake, you should get back to the instinctual amount of calories you need, and you shouldn't need to be snacking for any reason. You don't need it for the energy, and you don't need it to feel better. You already feel great, and it makes you not enjoy the next meal. How are you going to be hungry for dinner if you had food between lunch and dinner? I had lunch. I want to get hungry in time for dinner. I usually have to go out and exercise to even get hungry for dinner. If I don't exercise, I don't even feel like eating it by 5 or 6 o'clock. So in other words, you got to burn off those calories you ate. So most people and keep in mind, Americans are eating over 3,000 calories a day. All primitive societies in the history of the human race ate about 1,500 calories a day. Even in rural China today, the average caloric intake is around 1,600 calories a day, not 3,200 like it is in America. I always say half of what we eat meets our needs, and the other half meets the needs of our doctors. The point is, eat the right food, eat the right amount of food, and try not to snack, unless you're a real professional athlete and you really need those extra calories, but that's relatively rare.